Okay, everybody, we've got some pretty big news here, and I was sitting here getting ready to make a video about the practice the Seahawks just had. They just wrapped up their final public practice of training camp, so I was going to start rounding up some tweets to talk about what happened at the VMAC today, but it's been kind of sort of overshadowed, as it turns out, and don't get me wrong, I'll make a video later talking about practice. But right now, that's not really what's on people's minds. What's on people's minds is the signing the Seahawks just made. Terrion Arnold has been brought in. It is official. Terrion Arnold is going to sign with the Seahawks unless he suddenly changes his mind here. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. So Terrion Arnold had visited with other teams after his Seahawks visit. He had visited with the Texans, the Saints, and the Giants, but he has chosen Seattle, or Seattle has offered more money than those other teams. We don't know exactly. We'll revisit this when we figure out what the contract is, but it looks like we're getting Arnold. Now, this is not the end of the story. Arnold could still be put on the commissioner's exempt list. He could still be disciplined by the NFL, and that's true even if he's found relatively not responsible for what happened with the kidnapping in February. He can still be disciplined if the league believes that he acted in a way that is not becoming of an NFL player. They've done that before. So we don't know everything yet. We don't know if we're actually going to have this guy. This could end up being a thing where we bring him in for a couple of weeks and then things don't work out. Maybe he gets suspended. Maybe he has to deal with some other issue, and we end up just deciding to let him go. But presumably there's very little, if any, risk involved because we didn't give him a big guaranteed contract or anything like that. Or if we did, it's not particularly significant. So there's plenty that we don't know yet. I'd be interested to see what the contract is. I'd be interested to know what our commitment is beyond just having him in the building for a little bit. I also don't know who we're going to let go to make room for Arnold. We'll presumably learn that in the coming couple of days here, because technically he hasn't signed yet. We just know that he intends to sign with the Seahawks. But for the moment, he is going to be a Seahawk. And like I've said before, this is a first-round talent. This is a player that the Seahawks absolutely could have targeted in 2024 when he was drafted in the first round by the Lions, had they been picking slightly lower. This is a player that I think a lot of teams saw the talent in, and circumstances have dictated that the Lions did what they did, but there is a sense, I think, that there is still something desirable here if he can beat out the legal issue. So everything I've said in the last couple of videos I've made about Terrion Arnold stands. He has not played very well for the Lions, but that could have something to do with the Lions. And if you want to go a little bit more in depth on that, I just did a show with Brandon of the Hawk's Nest where he talked at length about how the Lions live in press coverage. And most teams don't use a lot of press these days. And the Lions are one of the teams that is bucking the trend. And that creates a circumstance where a lot of players who would otherwise be perfectly fine don't look very good because it's hard to live in press. So if that is the reason why Arnold had not played well the last couple of years, then, well, I think that you could see something much better here in Seattle. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams, where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer, best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today, and remember to always gamble responsibly. So, where this leaves the Seahawks in terms of their cornerback situation, you take a look at the depth chart, and this is the ESPN depth chart. It's a little bit easier to read than the Seahawks one, so I'm going to go ahead and use this one, even though I don't think this is all that accurately capturing what the defense looks like right now. But we all know Devin Witherspoon is your number one corner, and then Josh Jobe is the starter opposite him. So, Witherspoon and Jobe, that's your crew. Now, don't get me wrong. Terrion Arnold is significantly more talented than Josh Jobe, but with less than a month to go before the season starts, and with Arnold having gone through what he's gone through this offseason, Jobe is still certainly the starter over Arnold, who just got here. So we're not talking about that. But once you get past those two guys, because we're talking about outside corner here, we're not talking about nickel with Nicky Manwari and Igbenogany and Bud Clark. It's very open, right? And this depth chart kind of speaks to that. They've got Dansby and Neal as the next men up. Now, I don't think that's accurate to reality. And then they've got Andre Fuller and Shamar Jean-Charles. Then they've got Nehemiah Pritchett and Jordan Washington. So their order is, I think, out of whack. But you can see how easy it would be to beat those guys out. Nehemiah Pritchett right now is probably your number 3 because he's had a good camp. People are hyping him up, and it's kind of his turn anyway, right? Because Dansby and Fuller are rookies. So is Neal, by the way, and Neal hasn't practiced in 2 weeks, and we'll talk more about this later, but he did not do very much today either. Jean-Charles is kind of a filler player. Jordan Washington, don't know anything about him. So Pritchett is your number 3. Now, Pritchett, former 5th-round pick. I like him. We've seen some good things from him, but we've also seen some pretty bad things from him. And it would not be a surprise if Terrion Arnold, with his natural talent, would be able to come into Seattle and very quickly establish that he is the best corner on the team other than Witherspoon and Jobe. So if Arnold becomes your first outside corner off the bench, then that is pretty valuable and that is pretty impactful. And that is something that the team, it makes sense why they would go out of their way to try to secure that, because even Pritchett, even though Pritchett has played some in the NFL so far and he's done some decent things, he really hasn't done enough to prove that he is a reliable player for you, even as a backup. And the half of the 6 guys I just listed are rookies. And Jean-Charles, I don't think he's ever played for us. I think he played a little bit on the Saints, maybe. So there's just not a lot to be comfortable with here. And Arnold can easily come in here and just take that spot. But even if he doesn't beat out Pritchett, then he's your second outside corner off the bench. Because again, I think one of the big impetuses for this is Julian Neal has missed a lot of practice and he needed it. So now you can kind of remove Julian Neal from consideration of having to play right now, which I think is a good thing because I don't want to put him out there if he's not ready. So that is basically what has happened here. You've got Witherspoon and Jobe as your starters, and backing those guys up right now, you've got Pritchett, and then now you've got Terrion Arnold. That is valuable. That does make the team a little bit better, and I think that it is a step in the right direction in an area that the team is not thrilled about their depth right now in all likelihood. Now, we have to get past the legal issue. We have to get past the commissioner passing judgment on him, even if he doesn't actually get into legal trouble. And then we have to hope that he's the right kind of guy. And we've been told by several people that Jalen Milroe and Josh Jobe and Carl Scott have vouched for him. But, you're going to have to get in there and prove it. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. And more stuff coming soon. Practice video later, but breaking news, Seahawks have Terrion Arnold coming in here, and we'll see what we get.